The reason why I'm talking about evolution is because my Superpowered Business Success program, do you think it looked like the way it did 3 years ago? And the answer is categorically no. The price point is different. The promise is different. The way we deliver is different. The way we launch is different. The people who we want to work with is different. Like everything about it is different, but I could not be where I am if I did not have those first experiences.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Badass Manifester podcast. I'm super pumped. I have an awesome guest for you today. As always, I only bring the best. I really have to say that. I'm really excited. Today, we're going to talk about how you can manifest a six-figure launch from a tiny but engaged audience with so many other good nuggets in between. And I have James Lam here, who is the owner of Lam, which is Look Ahead Marketing. And he helps heart-centered entrepreneurs discover their superpowers and then use those gifts to shape their businesses into change-making enterprises, which we're all about here. He has his 12-week signature program, Superpowered Business Success, and he's built really successful franchise called It's a Learn Photography company with over 5,000 students and 10 studios across Canada. He's just got a lot of good stuff happening, and I'm really excited for him to share on this topic for you today. And I'm sure we'll get into a lot of other good things. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here, Ashley.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you kind of stepped into this and, created. Obviously you probably did the photography business first, I would imagine, but how did you?
So the photography business is actually first. So Look Ahead Marketing, and yes, for those of you who are astute, my last name is Lam, and you can't see it on the recording, but it's spelled Lam. So it's the acronym to my last name. Look Ahead Marketing is actually the third business that I've built. The very first one was Learn Photography Company, which we still have, which still trains photographers from all over the world, number one. Number two, I had a digital marketing agency with a business partner, and this is my third one. Now, the way this came about is the first, one of the things about my family growing up, and you're going to have your own paradigms, is, James, you're so smart. How smart can you be? And so when I built those first two businesses, it was built around the question of how can you work for a maximum amount of money with not a lot of work, right? How can you be really smart? How can you show people how smart you are and how hardworking you are? And so the funny thing is the way that those two became successful was the hustle and grind strategy. My God, always working, always hustling, always grinding. And I sacrificed my health. I sacrificed myself. I sacrificed my identity. I sacrificed my relationship and my family. And the sacrifice of all of that was two mediocrely successful businesses. And one weekend we had an event that we were helping to promote. So we went, and there was a guy there talking about joint ventures. His name was Jay Facette. And he said, one of the things I'll do is I'll comp you a ticket, just come down to San Diego. And so we went down to San Diego, and I've met hundreds of online coaches, healers, and course creators who were easily and gracefully making 6+ figures. And the cool thing about them is they were having fun, and they were having a lifestyle that they were all their own. And unlike what I had built previously, what I recognize is they built a raving business around themselves. So the cool thing here, I was at this event and I was like, oh my God, like I have to be all professional and I have to be doing these things and looking all professional. And they are just being themselves. And I love that. And that is what I teach people how to do now, actually, is build around their genius. Not only build around their genius, but build around the personality, who they are. Because we can be successful with whatever we do. We just have to put ourselves front and center. And that is the most empowering and scary thing you will ever do in your life.
I love that. Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think it's the most empowering and scary thing that people will ever do in their life?
I think it's because, and I'm a big reader for business books. Like I read biographies and I read, right now I'm reading, I think it's James Patterson, The 12 Rules of Life. I think that's what it is. Part of what's important to recognize is when you read these things, you're inspired to become somebody else. You look at Instagram, a lot of quotes from Elon Musk, a lot of quotes from Mark Zuckerberg, or at least that's what I see. A lot of quotes from really famous people. And if we're not careful, the lesson that we learn in social media, and if we're not careful when reading, is become somebody else to be successful, as opposed to integrate their lessons, right? It's a really, really fine line between the two. And I think that's part of the reason, that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made. I remember the very first time we launched and we spent a bunch of money doing Facebook ads because that's what other people said. So we spent a bunch of money spending Facebook ads, and then doing this webinar. I remember I was listening to two people at the time. I would listen to Russell Brunson, who's the founder of ClickFunnels, and Amy Porterfield, who does her digital course creation. She's very good as well. And the thing is when I did the actual webinar, it wasn't my voice coming through; it was their voices, right? And which is super interesting. And shock of all shocks, Ashley, it didn't work.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? It didn't work because, you can be given a strategy and it might not work.
It's one of the things so you heard Ashley mention Superpowered Business Success, which is the 12-week program. It's my signature program, and it's not really a program. I just teach you the foundations of how to build a business around your genius and around yourself, right? One of the things I always joke about it, I always feel like the program bridesmaid. So most of the people who come, they've taken this course on Twitter, they've taken this course on YouTube, they've taken this course on webinars or 5-day challenges, and one of the biggest challenges is they know a lot about a little bit of topic, but they don't know how to weave it all together or how to make it their own. And so it's actually having all this information actually holds people back more than anything else, because they feel like, oh my God, I have to get this right. Oh my goodness, this email that I'm sending out, it needs to just nail it and be perfect. Well, you've got a 5% open rate, so it doesn't, and you have 100 people on your list. What does it really matter? Right? When we break it down to the actual things that matter, most people put an emphasis on things that don't matter, right?
So true. Yeah. So what, in your mind, what matters the most when you're building your business?
I think failing forward is the biggest key.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's one of my favorite exercises to do. Okay?
Yeah.
When people fail, and which you will inevitably do in business, this is one of the, so if you're at home and if you're driving, please don't do this. Okay. If you're at home and listening to this, grab a piece of paper and do this afterward, but do this. Think about, in the last, say, 3 years, your biggest failure. Going to be failure maybe in your relationship, maybe at home, maybe in business, maybe in career, like maybe in money, like whatever it is, put the biggest failure. And then write down what that failure has cascaded into. So for example, it looks like this. I was dating someone several years ago, which is actually a true story. So I was dating someone like 15 years ago. I was hoping it was going to work out. It didn't. She traveled the world. She lived in New Zealand for a bit. So I was like, I was inspired. I was like, I'm going to travel the world and I'm going to not live in New Zealand, but live in Australia, which I did. And I moved to, and I ended up meeting my future wife. And now we have 2 lovely kids and 2 successful businesses. Right. Yeah. And so that's the short story, but all of the failure will inevitably lead to some kind of different set of options. And that's the biggest thing people don't understand is when you are so frozen in fear, so frozen you're going to fail, you have intrinsically the same number of options in front of you that you always have. And this is what people don't understand. And so they're like, I can't fail. And you're like, why not? Put something forward. If you succeed, great. If you fail, you have something that will inevitably lead to success. Yet we're so scared about failing, we never take that next step. And that's kind of one of the things that separates people who are successful and people who are not successful. And I see it all the time.
You know what time it is. It is time to turn your coaching calling into a coaching craft and become a world-class certified quantum coach. Applications are open right now for a very limited time to join us for this next cohort that is going to completely change the trajectory of your business and your life. And I know some of you have heard me talk about QCA over and over and over again, and some of you have just heard it for the first time, or it's like you're hearing it for the first time and you're like, wait, maybe I do want to do this. Maybe this is the right program for me. And that is what our application process is here to help you make that decision on, is applying to the program, getting on a call with myself or my team member so we can help you make the best decision for yourself. The Quantum Coaching Academy has 4 powerful phases of transformation. We teach you all the foundations that you need to be a powerful space holder and know how to ask powerful questions. And we teach you advanced coaching tools as well to help your clients go through deep processes and really deepen their skill set. And we teach you all of the NLP content that you need, neuro-linguistic programming. We equip you with 8 certifications to be world-class at taking your clients through powerful transformations to the point where your testimonials will speak for themselves. It's time to stop coaching from your own personal experience and your own personal development and what you've gone through. We want to teach you how to actually be a powerful coach. And being a powerful coach has nothing to do with your own experience. It's usually your experience that leads you to wanting to become a coach in the first place. You're like, I've gone through this powerful transformation and now I want to help other people go through it. But what got you to your transformation might not be what gets someone else to theirs. And so we have so many beautiful skills and processes and tools and certifications to help give you the confidence that you need to be able to say to someone and look at someone in the face or through Zoom and say, I know I can help you. And to be so confident in your abilities to take someone through true change, lasting change, generational healing. It's so powerful. Our community is so beautiful. It's so strong. And we're waiting for you. We're waiting for you to say yes. And I know it can feel scary. It can bring up so many different things all the way around, but I just want you to be brave enough to apply. Be brave enough to take one step and get yourself one step closer to what you see yourself doing. And I was just having this conversation with my husband. We were talking about how fast life goes by. Life goes by so quickly. And it's like, we don't have time to stress and to worry and to focus on things that are not taking us where we ultimately want to be. We need to really embrace where we are and go for it. We need to go for the things that set our soul on fire, even if it's scary, just by taking one step at a time. So I want to invite you to apply right now. The link is in the show notes or in my Instagram bio at thequantum.coach. Apply now, set up your call, and let's see if this is the right fit for you. And we can't wait to connect to see if you are meant to be a quantum coach.
I couldn't agree with that anymore. I think failing forward is how I've definitely built my business to be where it is today, like 100%. Like, it's part of the evolution of what you're creating. You know,
Yes.
you have to take certain risks, and some are going to work and some aren't. And, you know, all those programs that people take that come to you and they're like, oh, I've taken all these programs though, and nothing's worked. And then they're signing up for your program. I hear it all the time. People have taken other coach trainings. They haven't gotten what they needed. So now they're taking my training, but all those trainings are getting you to where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you look at them as successes or failures or however it's all how you look at it.
It is. It's interesting. So one of my mentors who I mentioned for JVology, Jay Facette, He says that you will know when you're on purpose when everything seems to align.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting thing, actually. And I think you agree with me on this. Like, it's like all of a sudden, all the past quote unquote failures that you've had, all the experiences that haven't worked out, they now make you a better coach, or they now make you a better business owner, or they now make you a better like partner to another half. Like whatever it is, when we're on a mission, these things just seem to align, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something else important that you mentioned there. And there's one word that you said that was super powerful in the last minute. And that word is evolution.
Mm.
And the reason why I want to talk about this for a second is the first time you ever, let's say we in the coaching industry, we use the term launch, right? The first time you ever launch something, it's not going to be perfect.
No.
like it isn't. There's going to be so
hold on,
many
James.
problems.
James, say that again for the people in the back.
Right. So
say that again. Say that again.
It's not going to be perfect. The first time you launch, it ain't perfect. And you need to be okay with this. Right. And so the evolution of not just business is the evolution of self.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I look back at the same thing and I'm like, holy shit, this program is totally different than it was when we launched the first beta round of it. Obviously, it's going to be different.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's that fail forward mentality that you have to know.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's just talk about launching, because I think it's such a popular topic, and anybody that's a coach knows that, you know, you have to launch your business, you have to launch your program, you have to launch your offerings. And I remember very clearly my first 6-figure launch, and I was like, holy shit, like this is crazy. It was crazy because, just like the topic that we had talked about, I'd been at it for a while in my business, but I wasn't launching to a huge audience at the time. I was launching to a wait list of like maybe 100 people, and I sold 20 spots, which is that's amazing. Right.
Awesome. Yeah.
And it was a 6-figure launch.
Sweet.
It was my first time ever. So in my mind, I was like, holy shit, like that was a quantum leap. You know what I mean? Like that was like something shifted energetically, something shifted like big time. So I'm just curious, how do you think other people can create that for themselves without having a huge following or a huge audience?
It's such a loaded question. There's so many ways to answer this.
I know.
Let's start with a few basics. Okay. I think the biggest thing, and we exhaled at the same time. And one thing I want to talk a little bit about is identity. So you can do 6-figure launches in your first year. And I'm going to tell you straight up, don't try to make the first one a 6-figure launch. No. Okay. Like just get it done. Okay.
Oh, it was far from my first year, by the way.
One of the things that we're not talking about, we're talking about evolution. We're talking about like the way to build for, we're talking about increasing the price, right? One of the things we're not talking about is the development of person and your relationship with money. And you know, you need to talk, you know, you should talk to Ashley about this, because this is more her jam than mine, to be perfectly honest. And it's that relationship with money that more than anything else, like determines where you are with launch. So if I said $10,000, and some of you are like, oh my God, that's more money than I've ever seen. And some of you are like, yeah, I can do that. Right. If you're like, yeah, I can do that. That's a good time to look at a 6-figure launch, because your relationship with money is so strong. Right. And so one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do is take steps so that you're more comfortable with standing in your power, asking for money. And at the end of the day, we are slowly evicting this thing called imposter syndrome that everybody has.
Yeah.
I have it. Actually, you probably have it.
Definitely.
Like we still have it. Does that make sense? Like and so it's just the difference. It's just the price point becomes different, right? At $1,000 now, I'm like, I'm freaking great value. Like if I ask somebody for 50,000, I'm like, can I really get them the results I'm promising? Right. Yeah. So your relationship with imposter syndrome and the value changes. Number one. Okay. Another trick I'm going to tell you, because we're talking about, again, 6-figure launches for people with small lists, is like there's got to be planning ahead. A lot of people are just like, I'm going to do a five, I met this one person who was like, and she started working together with me. And I was like, what do you have for the next 12 months? She's like, well, in January, I have webinars. On February, I have a 5-day challenge. In March, I have webinars again. In April, I have this. And I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Like plan ahead. I only launch twice a year.
Same.
And I put everything I got into those launches.
100%.
And if you have a small and mighty list, you need to do that even better. So it looks like this. You launch in April. It looks like you need to have some kind of social runway to let your fans know you're up leveling. You need to talk to you. And if you have a small list, one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is have joint ventures or affiliates. Either one's going to work. Okay. Have some type of way to artificially boost your list. Okay. Make sure they get really excited. Like be a little bit perfectionist with everything that you do, because you've got one shot at throw all your eggs at this thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Ashley?
Makes sense to me. 100%.
Okay. And the third point I'm going to give you is that perfectionism. It's one of the, look, I'm not expecting you to have perfect grammar. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm asking you to kind of map this thing out. If you think about, there's a lot of moving parts with launches. There's what's called, I already mentioned, your social runway to your call to action, which is usually a webinar or 5-day challenge. You got to make sure that your reminder sequence is nailed down. You got to make sure your stack slide is nailed down. You got to make sure your activities are nailed down. You got to make sure, and I'm saying this like I'm rattling these things off because I've done this. Ashley has done this. If you haven't done this, you have to understand the gravity, which is the reason why we need to plan like 3 or 4 months ahead, because you got to have time to write your like text reminder sequence, right? If do they buy? Do they not buy? If they buy, the thing we have to avoid now is getting refunds, right? So how are you going to make them comfortable with the decision? If they don't buy, how do we get them into an added value stack, right? If they don't show up to whatever you're doing, how do we rebook them? Or how do like there's all these questions. And so you're going to be writing email for a week and you have to be okay with it. But the big thing here is that planning and perfectionism goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
And we get bigger when we start getting out of imposter syndrome. Those are the 3 biggest things I can talk about for launching 6 figures.
Love that. This is definitely like very high level launching that it's like music to my ears. I'm like, yeah, we do that. I think for someone who is more of like the beginner stage and like is really just figuring out this world of launching,
yeah,
that could probably seem really overwhelming to them.
It can, and it is a little bit, right? Yeah. It's one of the things that we could help you out, that Ashley could help you out. And I'm gonna tell you this much as well. I'm like giving away the farm, but that's okay. You have more influence than you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
You have more influence than you think you do. I'm going to give you a great example of this. Okay, is a lot of people who are 5 figures or even early 6 figures, they make a mistake. And the mistake is this: after they're done their webinar or their 5-day challenge or whatever mechanism you choose, they send automated email follow-ups, which isn't bad. Okay, like that's not a mistake in itself. This is the mistake. That's all they do. Now, if you're someone like Russell Brunson or Amy Porterfield, who we talked about earlier, and you have thousands of people attending your webinar, if you have thousands of people attending your 5-day challenge, like that's what you need to do, right? That's what you're really good. So you nail that automation sequence. If you have 12 people, follow up with each and every one of them individually.
I tell all my clients to do that.
Okay.
I do that.
You have to, right? You have 12 people. So do an automation sequence that's awesome and rocking, and make them feel really welcome. We underestimate how much credibility we build, and we underestimate how important, like how powerful if I were talking to Ashley and be like, Ashley, like I'd love to have you in my mastermind or whatever it is. What do I have to do to get you there?
Yeah. It makes such a difference. What I find in that, James, is when people hear from me, they're like, oh my God, you're reaching out to me. Like they're actually like surprised that I took the time to reach out to them, because you have to think about it, everyone listening. These people who are opting into your 5-day challenge or they're opting into your webinar, it takes something of them to see an ad or see your post and follow it to a link and click the link and then read what's on that page and then intentionally decide, I'm going to put my name and my email in your box so that I could be part of this event, right? Like, yes, you're giving free value, but it takes something of them to do that. That takes time and energy out of their day to do that. So let them know that you see them.
Yeah. And like we do, I don't know how you do launches. We do all our launches live, so nothing pre-recorded.
Same. Yeah.
And we actually take questions from the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And you know, if you do the same thing and you're still 5-figure, first of all, you shouldn't be using pre-recorded. You should be using live. Number one, okay? Like that is not even a question. Number two, create a platform that allows for questions to be taken, so you build a relationship on the call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is one of the beautiful things about being really straight with stuff. So, you know, for example, if I called my workshop, like 3 steps to getting from 5 figures to 6 figures for online coaches, healers, and course creators, for example, okay? Getting from 5 figures to 6 figures for online coaches, healers, and course creators. The cool thing about that, it's not a sexy title, but you know who's going to show up? Yeah. Online coaches, healers, and course creators who are 5 figures who want to get 6 figures. And so you have the genius that they absolutely want. Mm-hmm. You have the key to what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
Right. You have the antidote to the poison that they are living in right now. Never underestimate that strength.
Yeah, that's really key, because I've definitely had some free events in the beginning of my business when I was failing forward, where the transformation wasn't clear, right? Like it was like very conceptual, very high level, and it wasn't clear what people were getting or who it was specifically for. Mm-hmm. So if you can really nail down, you know, who it's for and what they're going to get from it, and make it so clear that it's just like James was just saying, it's just, he knew who was going to be there because he called them in specifically. It's obvious.
Yes. So here's I'm giving away the farm again. Stop it, Ashley. So one of the things we talk about in I think I'm hilarious. I call it my leading lead magnet magnetizing workshop. And I find it's a good thing I'm a dad, because I find it hilarious. But in this thing, one of the things that we talk about in the title is being really specific with who you're targeting. Yeah. Right. Like let's call it out. Just be like, I'm targeting like mothers who are overwhelmed with like running a business, who have children, who are spending all their time commuting, who feel like they're failing. If that's your target, then call it out. Right. One of the things that we do is we're all like, oh, it needs to be like super marketing. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of the things that I'm pulling up one of my people for. Her lead magnet is the mystery of the missing you. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Like it sounds all markety, but what is it? Is it for detectives? Is it like what are we talking about here? And she's like, no, it's for super moms who are overwhelmed. I'm like, then just call it.
That's what it should be called. That's so true. That's what I was trying to say. That was a good example. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, I mean, while we're giving away the farm here, another thing to ask yourself, because I was just jamming out with a client she wants to create a new program. And so her new program title was, hold on, I just want to pull it up so I can get it right. So her program title was Unlocked and Expressed, Owning Your Voice and Embodiment in Leadership and Brand. Okay. Which is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And anytime you have a title that's like owning your voice and embodiment in leadership and brand, you want to ask yourself, so they can. Mm-hmm. So they can what? What is that? What is owning your voice and leadership and embodiment? What does that do for them? What does it get them? What's the result of that? Getting the result of that is what people are really looking for. That's why some things just don't land.
It's one of the, and you're absolutely 100% right. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about that, right? Number one is, this is something we train our people for, and Ashley's a great person to go to for this. You are selling the transformation of the promise. Now, I tend to work with a lot of energy healers, and this is what they usually riff on, right? It's normally like, you wake up so you have more energy and more time in your day, and you feel better, and you love more, and you see more sunshine, and you're more mindful. And I'm like, that's great, and I want that, and it's not a transformation.
Right.
What is the transformation that you are going for? Mm-hmm. For someone like myself, it's easy, right? Like, we get you monetized in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a transformation, okay, in of itself, right? So what is the transformation? Number one, Number two is both those examples of leadership and brand and finding your own voice and things like that. And what I just said about finding more energy and waking up in the morning and being more mindful. It reminds me of standing at the drugstore. Well, I'm in Canada, but standing at the drugstore, looking at the toothpaste aisle. Now, toothpaste in Canada must have ridiculous markup because it just covers the damn shelf. Okay.
Yeah.
Like all different brands, all different colors. Some are whitening, some are charcoal, some are anti-cavity, some are sensitive, some are kids, some are all natural. And I sit there and I literally spend like 20 minutes every time I want to buy toothpaste, and it's freaking toothpaste, Ashley. And the reason is because it's now toothpaste I have to have, or else I'm going to like have rotting teeth and terrible breath. So I need to make a decision. But the challenge is this: when we are offered too many things, we can't make a decision, and most people will walk away.
Right.
I can't walk away from toothpaste. I need it. In our coaching program, we're offering too many things. Most people will walk away. I'm working on this with someone who does VA services. And this is a challenge, right? She's like, and listen up. So would you use this? We charge $400 a month, and we can do your social media, your email copy, your podcast stuff, your video editing, your copywriting, and it's too much. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. And I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what I need listening to all that. Wow. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So switching gears, I just have a couple more questions for you. I'm curious how you find like working with healers and people that are more in the spiritual space and like that are really about heart-centered and being of service. How do you find that it like for them to balance this idea of like becoming wealthy? Like it's okay to become wealthy and also serving their clients to their highest good.
This is a paradigm we must lose.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm gonna just put it out there, and you may be triggered by this, and if you never see me again, that's okay. This paradigm must die. There is a paradigm about service and not being wealthy. How we should almost like donate our time. How we should, we don't need money. We do this. That is goddamn bullshit. And please, for the love of God, stop doing that to yourself, because you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your family. Okay. You do a good job. You give people a life-changing experience. You should be paid for this. In fact, they're going to get more of a life-changing experience because they pay decent amounts. Right. The other thing is, we need to inspire, a generation of mission-driven, heart-centered entrepreneurs. And the only way to do it is to make goddamn money. Yeah. Like just go into it. There is nothing wrong with that. But when we look at stories from our youth, well, from my youth anyways, but things like Robin Hood. Robin Hood did what? Steal from the rich and give to the poor. Robin Hood should have maybe like just stole from the rich and started a friggin' business so we can give to the poor all the time. Like this is a stupid thing. Does that make sense, Ashley? So I think it needs to die. And there is nothing wrong with having abundance, right? That you were showing the world what is possible. So if that's you and you have the opportunity, own it, stand up in it, be in the power for it, right? And search your soul right now. And I think, you deserve this, right? It's one of the hardest things to get through to people is no, it's funny because they say you coach what you really need. And so for healers, like hearing the terms, you deserve this, you deserve to be wealthy. You deserve to have everything that you want. There is nothing wrong with that. And that paradigm we have to let go of, Ashley.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, I was able to let that go, and I realized how much more abundance how much more service I could actually be and show up as, because I was able to help more people in my life and in my world.
Yes.
So,
this is the weird one. What Ashley just said, and if you need to rewind the recording, but basically the more successful you are, and I'm talking monetary, the more successful you are monetary, the more people you will reach, the more people you will help, the more people you will heal.
Beautifully said. Yeah, so true. Oh, this is so good. I love this. I haven't gotten into like nitty gritty launch stuff. So that was really cool. So let me ask you, James Lam, what makes you a badass manifester?
You know what it is? I'm going to go full circle here. it's not just the failing forward. It's the courage to fail forward. Do you understand the difference? So we have a launch coming up in September. We're trying something new. Do you think I'm scared? No, I'm fucking terrified, right? Let's be honest. And yet finding courage to be able to manifest these things. So there's always a storm going into my heart. There's always a storm going on in my head. And I think and actually, I don't know if you understand this, but the storm looks like this. Subconscious is like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. Like success is temporary. Like we need to panic and save money, right? And this is the opportunity where we manifest, and I don't want to say control, because I always want that side to be there. I think that side needs to be there. That's only my opinion. Okay. I think my anxious side actually serves a purpose. But the manifestation part is closing your eyes and visualizing it. I'm a big believer in angels and universe. That's my thing. You can call it energy, you can call it NLP, you can call it whatever you want, and just listening to what they actually say, because what they actually say is different than what your subconscious is saying. That's your panic side. That's your side from like the primordial ages, right? So, and then listening to what the angels say or universe, and having the courage to be able to take powerful, scary, terrifying, and ultimately rewarding action is the where we're all going to win this world, Ashley.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really good to hear too from someone who is so super successful that it's okay to still be scared.
Yes. It means you're on the right path. That's a sign.
Yes.
It's a sign. If you get comfortable, you're too comfortable, you will have the same results you always will have.
So true. So true. Okay, cool. So where can everyone connect with you and learn more about Look Ahead Marketing and your program, all the things? Okay.
So I have the easiest way to do it is actually download I have a guide for you, and I just wrote this a couple of days ago, so I'm not entirely. So it's 5 fast and easy hacks to making big money from small lists. And it's specifically, if you haven't heard it already, for online healers, coaches, and course creators.
Yeah.
So that you can go to lookaheadmarketing.com/freebie, FREEBIE, all lowercase, and it's 100% free. And the cool thing is, once you download that, you're on my radar. I do run live workshops. They usually have about 20 people in them, and 10 people have the courage to have their camera on. Those people get amazing value. I really suggest that you show up and get all the value. Okay.
Amazing. How often do you run those?
I'm sorry. We run them about twice a month.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. About twice a month. It's one of the best ways we can serve. I'm going to forewarn you. We do make an offer to work with us. And some of you, it's going to be right. Some of you, it's not going to be right. That's okay. If it's right, great. Take us up on it. If it's not right, that's okay. Don't take us up on it, but come and move your business forward. Because if you are where I work with a lot of my clients, like, don't get stuck there. That is where your entrepreneurial dream becomes an everyday nightmare. So take steps, whether it's reaching out to Ashley, whether it's reaching out to myself. Again, it's lookaheadmarketing.com/freebie. Awesome. Go get the freebie. Get in James's world. Thank you so much. This was such a good conversation. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad. And if you want to, at some point in time, you and I should talk. We should do another one on the more pragmatic point of launching, but that's another discussion for another day. Yeah, definitely. Sounds like a plan. All right, everyone. Let us know what your favorite part of this episode is. Tag us on social. You want to share your social media? Yeah. Easiest one is going to be Instagram at Look Ahead Marketing. At Look Ahead Marketing. Boom. Yeah. Tag us. Let us know what resonated the most with you. And we'll see you all soon. Bye. Thank you. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at Manifest with Ash. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire.
We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get them.